The envelope has no return address. It arrived 3 days ago. You've read it 4 times. The instructions are simple. The location is specific. The date is tomorrow. There's a single sentence at the bottom that doesn't feel like a request. You show up. Level 1, the candidate. The building looks like an insurance office. You sign 3 documents before anyone speaks to you. You don't fully read them. The man across the table has a face you'll forget within an hour. That's intentional. He tells you this isn't a job. It's a commitment structure. You nod like you understand. You don't. For the next 6 weeks, you're in a facility in Northern Virginia that doesn't show up on any map you've ever seen. The training isn't what movies told you. There's no glamour. There's no gadgets. There's sleep deprivation and language drills, and a psychological evaluation that asks you the same question 7 different ways over 4 separate sessions. The question is, how far would you go? You give the answer you think they want. Then you realize they already knew your answer before you walked in. They just wanted to see if you'd lie about it. You pass. The man with the forgettable face shakes your hand. He tells you that everything from this point forward is compartmentalized. You will know what you need to know. Nothing more. You ask a question anyway. Something small, something reasonable. He looks at you with the patience of someone watching a child touch a hot stove for the first time. That's not your lane, he says. You make a note. Don't ask questions. Your clearance level is marked. Your first assignment is a desk in a building inside a building. You file reports. You verify documentation. You run names through systems that have no official label. For 3 months, you do nothing exciting. You wonder if you made a mistake. You didn't. They're watching everything. The patience is the test. Level 2, the shadow. Your first field rotation is in Budapest. You don't carry a weapon. You carry a legend, a constructed identity so detailed it has a childhood, a dental record, and an aunt named Marta who lives outside of Debrecen. You live inside this identity for 11 weeks. You eat where your legend eats. You drink where your legend drinks. You make friends your legend would make. One of those friends is a low-level logistics manager at a foreign defense contractor. You didn't choose him. He was chosen for you. Your job is to build trust over coffee and bad wine until he feels comfortable enough to say things he shouldn't say. He does. You write it down. You transmit it. You never see what happens next. The first time you do this, it feels strange, like wearing a coat that belongs to someone else. By the 3rd time, you forget you're wearing it. That should concern you. It doesn't. You clear $3,200 in expenses that month, untraceable, routed through a consulting firm in Luxembourg that technically employs you. You live in a flat with 2 locks and no name on the door. You check your exits every morning before coffee. This becomes automatic. One night, the logistics manager tells you about his daughter. She's 9. She wants to be a doctor. He shows you a photo on his phone. You smile. You transmit everything the next morning, including the phone model and the metadata attached to the photo. You stop thinking about his daughter by noon. Level 3, the operative. You're running your own asset now. His name, his real name, is something you've been told not to use. You call him Cardinal. He's a mid-level functionary inside a government ministry in Southeast Asia. He passes you financial routing information once a month in a handoff that looks like 2 men arguing over a taxi. You manage 5 Cardinal-level assets across 3 countries. You travel under 4 different passports. You've been to places that don't get mentioned in your file. The work is methodical. The work is clean. You are very good at it. One of your assets goes quiet. 48 hours of silence becomes 72. You notify your handler. The response is 3 words: stand down. Acknowledged. You never find out what happened to him. You're not supposed to ask. You don't ask. But you lie awake in a hotel in Kuala Lumpur at 2 a.m. and you do the math, and the math is ugly. Someone burned him. Maybe it was operational error. Maybe it was a leak inside your own chain. Maybe it was a deliberate sacrifice to protect something above your pay grade. You file the thought under unknowable and go to sleep. This is the first time you understand that the system doesn't care about the people inside it. It only cares about the outcome. You are a tool. Cardinal was a tool. Tools get used until they don't. You decide you're going to be a tool that lasts. You stop asking why. You start asking how. Level 4, the technician. You're not in the field anymore. You're managing a network of 6 field officers across 2 operational theaters. You sit in rooms with no windows and watch dots move on maps. You make calls that redirect people's lives without ever raising your voice. Your salary doesn't fully exist. You receive $94,000 annually on paper through a DoD contractor umbrella. The other compensation is harder to describe. It moves through mechanisms you've been shown, but were never asked to fully explain to anyone. You approve operations now. A proposal lands on your desk. A disinformation campaign targeting a mid-level foreign official running for a position that matters to U.S. interests. The campaign involves fabricated communications, financial records, and a photograph that was digitally altered by a team you'll never meet. You read it. You sign it. You move on. That night, you watch the news and see the official's name in a corruption scandal. The story is spreading fast. You recognize two of the fabricated documents in the background of a press conference. Nobody else in the room would recognize them. You change the channel. You've crossed a line that didn't look like a line when you were standing on it. That's the thing about these lines. They're only visible in the rearview mirror, and by then you're already 3 lines past. Level 5, the architect's apprentice. They bring you into a room you weren't told about. 12 people. No phones. No recordings. A whiteboard with a name on it. A foreign energy minister whose policies have been quietly destabilizing a regional alliance the United States has spent 14 years building. The conversation in that room is not a briefing. It's a construction project. By the end of 2 hours, there is a plan. The plan doesn't involve bullets or surveillance photos. It involves money, timing, a well-placed rumor, and a man in Zurich who owes a favor to a man you've never met. The minister will be removed from his position within 90 days. He'll think it was his own political enemies. It will look that way to everyone, including him. You contribute 3 tactical points. 2 get used. You walk out of that room different. Not because of what you did, because of how natural it felt. That's the part that stays with you. You have clearance now that doesn't have a name. You travel with a level of diplomatic protection that means you cannot be stopped at any border in 31 countries. You've lost contact with everyone from your old life. Your mother thinks you work in data security. Your brother hasn't heard from you in 2 years. You don't miss them in the way you used to. You miss the version of yourself that would have missed them. Power doesn't arrive loudly. It seeps in. One day you look up and you've been making decisions that bend the shape of the world, and you feel nothing dramatic about it. You feel efficient. You feel useful. That feeling becomes its own addiction. Level 6, the station chief. You're running a country. Not officially. Officially, you're a senior diplomatic attaché. But inside the embassy, inside the compartments within the compartments, you run every intelligence operation on this soil. You have 12 officers under you, 8 local assets, 3 operations running simultaneously, and a direct line to Langley that bypasses the ambassador. The ambassador doesn't like you. You don't care. You've outlasted 3 ambassadors. They rotate. You stay. There's a local journalist who's been getting too close to one of your cover operations. You don't order anything violent. You don't need to. You make 2 phone calls. By Thursday, the journalist is dealing with a tax investigation that will consume the next 18 months of his life. The story dies. One of your officers, 26 years old, second rotation, bright, asks you directly, "Did we do that to him?" You look at her the way the man with the forgettable face once looked at you. "That's not your lane," you say. She nods and goes back to her desk. You watch her and remember what that question felt like when it was yours to ask. You don't tell her it gets easier. You don't tell her it gets harder. You say nothing because neither is useful. At this level, you've learned that the most dangerous thing you can do is feel. Not because feelings are weak, because feelings have memory. And memory creates hesitation. And hesitation in this work is the gap between a clean operation and a catastrophic one. You've closed that gap. Level 7, the Ghost Protocol. Nobody knows your name anymore. Not your real name. The one you were born with belongs to a man who doesn't exist in any operational context. You've had 7 documented identities since your recruitment. 3 of them are still active. One of them has a family, a house in Prague, and a professional history that would survive a full investigative background check. You're not assigned to a station. You're not assigned to a division. You're assigned to a problem. When a problem is too sensitive for official channels, when it requires deniability so complete that even the people authorizing it shouldn't know the full mechanism, they bring it to people like you. There are fewer than 30 individuals at your operational tier in the entire intelligence apparatus. You've met 4 of them in person. You wouldn't recognize the others on the street, which is intentional. You design operations now. You don't execute them. You hand them to people 3 levels below you and watch them unfold over months. One of your operations reshapes an election in a country of 40 million people. You never set foot in that country. You never meet a single person involved. From your end, it's a series of documents, an allocation of $4.2 million routed through 7 intermediary structures, and 3 phone calls in a language you speak with an accent that belongs to someone else. The outcome is what was needed. The word needed used to carry weight. Now it's a technical term. Needed by whom? Needed for what? The framework is so abstract at this level that morality doesn't land cleanly on any surface. Everything is leverage. Everything is geometry. You live in a building in an undisclosed city. You have 2 people who ensure your physical security. You haven't had a personal conversation, a real one, not a constructed one, in longer than you want to calculate. The trade-off was clear. You made it voluntarily. That doesn't make it light to carry. Level 8, the unnamed. There's no meeting, no ceremony. One day you understand that there's no one left above you. Not because you climbed there, because everyone above you was moved, retired, or removed, and the architecture they built is now yours by default. You inherit the system without inheriting a title. That's how it works at this altitude. You're not on any organizational chart. You're not in any personnel file that anyone reading this is cleared to access. You exist as a footnote in 3 classified investigations that were each quietly closed before they reached conclusions. The people who make national security decisions, elected officials, appointed directors, career officers, they navigate around you the way rivers navigate around stone. Not because they were told to, because they've learned to. You have information on 17 sitting figures in 3 governments. Not as blackmail. You've never framed it that way in your own mind. As context, as leverage inventory, as insurance that the work you've built doesn't get dismantled by someone with shorter vision and a political timeline. You eat breakfast alone most mornings. That's not a metaphor. You're just alone. You've thought about walking away. You've mapped out an exit. It would take 6 months to unwind your operational footprint, neutralize the exposure points, and create enough distance that your disappearance wouldn't trigger a search. You've had the plan ready for 4 years. You haven't used it. Not because you can't. Because you no longer know who you'd be walking into. The man who entered that insurance office building 31 years ago, the one who read that envelope 4 times, he isn't inside you anymore. You didn't lose him violently. You just slowly replaced every part of him with something more functional, more durable, more suited to the terrain. That replacement is complete now. You sit at a window in a city you've chosen for its unremarkability. You drink coffee. You watch people move below, people with problems you could solve in a phone call, people with lives that will never touch the architecture you've spent 3 decades building. The world is safer because of what you've done. You believe that with precision, the way an engineer believes in load-bearing calculations. Whether it made you good is a different question. You stopped asking it years ago. Somewhere, a 23-year-old just opened an envelope with no return address. He's read it 4 times. The instructions are simple. The location is specific. The date is tomorrow. He thinks this is a beginning. He doesn't know that everything he is right now, curious, uncertain, still capable of feeling the weight of his own choices, is exactly what the system will spend the next decade methodically removing. He'll sign the documents tomorrow. He'll forget the face of the man across the table. He'll ask a question he shouldn't ask, and someone will say 4 words that will stay with him longer than anything else that follows. He thinks he's entering a career. He's entering an erosion. But he'll understand that later. Much later.